Hey guys, it's Trevor, and before we jump into today's episode, I need to tell you about something that Alex and I made for you guys. We made what's called a True Health Assessment, which is a quiz that tells you exactly what areas of your health need attention. Maybe it needs attention today, this week, or in this season of life. The importance of that is we want to become healthy in every area, but we can't do that if we don't understand what areas need attention. So we made this quiz not only for ourselves, but really for you guys so that you can continue to give attention to the areas that need it and keep becoming healthy in every area. You can find the link to that quiz in the show notes and go take that. You can get your health score and immediate feedback on what area you can give attention to this week. Now, on to today's episode where Alex sits down with Sawyer Green, who's a HOLO HLTH faithful fan. He's been around since the beginning, has an incredible story, and a super genuine heart. You're going to get to hear his path towards true health and how he's continuing to pursue the truly healthy life that Jesus offers. And not only that, but how it's changed his life. Hope you enjoyed today's conversation.
On this episode of the HOLO HLTH Podcast, I have one of my near and dear friends, I would call you a brother. That there's different types of people in my life that you have like your community and your friends. Then you have your like brothers that just like know you get each other, you just love dearly. Sawyer Green is one of those to me. Sawyer, I will let you take the stage and tell everyone a little bit about yourself. But before we do, how are you feeling this morning?
Not the best.
Not the best, but we're here.
But we're forgetting the rest. Do your best, forget the rest.
We're going to get into that a little bit and how we connect more through our weaknesses than our strengths. But we're going to put a pin in that. Sawyer, did you eat breakfast this morning?
I have not.
Nothing. Just had water and woke up and came right here.
Water, went on a run. Here I am.
Yo, you did go on a run?
Slow
Nice.
mosey.
Nice. For those of you who don't know Sawyer, he is an absolute beast of a human specimen. Can you give us the 30-second summary of your 100-miler? Really quick.
Sure. I never thought I would do it. I saw someone I know do it. I got halfway and said, this is possible. Made it bigger than myself. Told a lot of people about it for accountability. Invited people to raise money with me.
You say it wasn't just for you. You raised money for No Longer Bound.
Yeah, that helped me take it off of myself.
Mm.
And then find something near and dear to your heart and try to find a way to incorporate that with it. And whatever goal it is, you'll be able to accomplish it.
100 miles. I don't think I could do that.
One way to find out.
Only one way.
I don't think you want to do it.
That's a great point.
You have to want to.
That's a great point. Your mind's got to be in it first. Sawyer, I'm excited to kind of jump into your story and what God has done. Just a general overview of all things Sawyer Green, and then we'll kind of dig into things.
Like Alex said, my name is Sawyer. I have lived in this area.
Wait, have I been saying your name wrong? I always say Sawyer. You say Sawyer.
Depends on how you say lawyer or lawyer.
I say lawyer.
Then you
Sawyer.
say Sawyer.
I do. I've never thought of that before.
I
Sawyer.
came up changing the way people say my name.
How do you say
in
lawyer?
Elementary school. Lawyer.
Lawyer. Sawyer. I am going to rethink your name every single time I say it now.
I answered it both. It's okay.
We've been friends for this long, and you are now telling me I pronounced your name wrong for 7 years.
We've probably had this conversation. But I'm not here to change you, Alex.
I apologize.
So I've been in this area coming Alpharetta for 10 years. Long story short, what brought me here was trying to get sober from an addiction, but that once was a big part of my life that kept me from being truly healthy. And facing that head on, coming to this area, finding a community, meeting Alex, all that plays a part into my health journey. And now have a wife and a year-and-a-half-old daughter, and love the area, love the community, and just love getting to share my story on whatever platform that is.
Really quick, what do you do for your work?
I work at Sozo Private Wealth.
Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, because we do have a video
Sozo.
component, you can see on Sawyer's shirt. And what do you do for them?
I work in investment operations, so I pretty much lead the operations team, and we do everything that the advisor and clients talk about in those meetings behind the scenes.
And like you said, Claire's your beautiful wife. Avery's your beautiful daughter. You run a lot. You sometimes dabble in CrossFit when you're healthy. And your back's not bothering you. What other fun facts are there to share about Sawyer Green? Sawyer Green.
Sawyer. I have a twin sister. A lot of people, that doesn't come up in conversation.
Yeah, that's true.
First, sometimes many years. She lives in Midtown. I have an older brother with 2 nieces, 2 nephews from his family. My parents are celebrating 50 years of marriage this year. So a lot of good things, a lot of relational things. And yeah, that's it for now. More stuff will come out.
Sawyer, your story is super powerful. Why don't you just take a few minutes and just give us a...
Don't say 30 seconds.
Not 30 seconds, but not 30 minutes. Somewhere in between. Somewhere in between 30 seconds and 30 minutes.
Sure. You want me to include like health journey in that, or
whatever you want, Lord willing?
Lord willing. Well, so I grew up in Athens, Georgia. I would say, from my perspective, a normal household. I think later in life you start to compare what your growing up is, and then you can label it as dysfunctional or not. But to me, it was normal. It was loving. And we had fun, and there was a lot of discipline, a lot of rules that were for my good. I can see now, but in the moment, it felt very restrictive. So we went to private schools, private Christian school, and being a twin, you have to share a lot, whether that's a room, a car, friends, birthdays. You kind of get used to that, but for me, my relationship with my sister was kind of the person where I would compare myself and measure up to try to answer that internal question of, am I good enough? Am I doing this right? This thing called life. And so that, along with the rules that were laid out before me, I would try to follow those to the best of my ability. But I would say being active as a kid was my first love. Going out in the yard, running, basketball, anything that my brother played as a sport, loved to be active. My father was very committed to growing his own business that he ran, a grading construction company. And so there was a lack of relationship with him for a lot of my life based off of just the time available. And I would say my parents did the best they possibly could. And as the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. And when he grows older, he will not depart from it. And while I may have departed from it with drug and alcohol addiction, I can definitely say that the way they raised me in church, in the Bible, with rules and discipline, it brought me back to it. It brought me back to something that God redeemed. So fast forward into, middle school, high school years, there was always this feeling of I didn't fit in health-wise. It wasn't really on my radar. I never really looked at health the way that I do now. My decisions as far as eating were kind of made for me. Didn't really look at something as healthy or unhealthy. But I will say my love for snacking has been with me my whole life.
Wait, quick tangent. What is the go-to snack? Like, man, I love to just snack on.
Well, recently, Famous Amos
cookies
have come back into my life.
Quick fun fact about Sawyer is he can put back some food and I love it because I can too, and not many people can that we need, but you're one of the brothers that can relate to, we need some food, and we need a lot of it. So
I had a pizza and a burger last night. Too much.
Love that.
So trying to think where I was at.
You looked at health, didn't really look at health. Food was kind of chosen for you.
Right, I've always been a snacker. So I would say a lot of my health decisions were chosen for me, whether that's spiritually, where physically I was going to be when I was at church. Food-wise, it was chosen. Relationally, it was chosen. We lived out in the country, not really in a neighborhood, so I didn't have the typical neighborhood friends. I had my school friends, and that was about it. My school, my church friends. And to ask if a friend could come over was very risky because my parents would tell me, don't you dare bring your friend with you when you ask, because I can't say no.
In front of their face.
And I'm telling you, no one is coming over after church today. And as kids, you test the limits. So
you push a little bit.
You bring that friend and you ask. But I didn't go over to a lot of friends' house. They didn't come over a lot. So that was normal for me. Relationally, I would say. Mentally, spiritually, that whole relationship, I would say as long as I'm following the rules and I was getting good jobs and well done and your son is so well mannered, like that seeking attention was my health, my identity in that regard. So I would say I lived and died by that. Growing up in a Christian school, I sought all things Christianese and would memorize things based off the acceptance of spiritual authority, said the prayer as maybe a 4 or 5-year-old for acceptance in the church. Didn't really know what that meant or what it was going to do for my life, but I did follow the suggestions of what the church would say, and I would say I was a good kid, but internally I was very lost and starving for attention and needing affirmation, and would just seek whatever I could do to get that. And so sports was a huge identity in high school, turned into relationships, trying to be accepted. A lot of that turned into, when I moved from a Christian to a public school in 10th grade, being a Christian wasn't cool anymore. And it really revealed and exposed in my life how much emphasis I put on acceptance. And if that wasn't going to get me acceptance, then what would? And so that turned into whatever you're doing, I'll do it. Whatever you think is cool, I'll think is cool. And that was a very dangerous way to live. A lot of things that I tried to live up to just fell by the wayside. And I continued to just kind of be moving along in the waves, and the cultural undertone would just take me.
Yeah.
And my beliefs became culture's beliefs, and whatever I had to do to gain acceptance, I did. So went to UGA my freshman year, by the grace of God. Don't know how I got in. It was the only college I applied to, but I was just very lost in that probably all my 20s until I was about 28 when I came to this area. But a lot of my perfection, a lot of my relational neglect, spiritual neglect, misconceptions of God, resentments towards the way I was brought up, and just confusion about life led me to be a very unhealthy person. But on the outside, people were praising me left and right.
Like, oh, Sawyer, look how good he is.
Until I started getting arrested, and then they're like, well, that was a one-off, why'd you do that? And then it happened again, and they're like, well, what are you doing? Learn your lesson. And then it happened again. They're like, maybe you shouldn't drink. And then you find out whatever you're using to feel better about said thing in your life, when someone asks to take that away from you, if it's your solution, you're going to protect it at all costs. And so alcohol and drugs was a solution to me. I liked that Sawyer more. I thought he was funnier. He was less anxious. He didn't think about how he didn't fit in. He was very quick-witted, and people said they liked that Sawyer more. Even my own sister said, I kind of liked drunk Sawyer better. And so that kind of stuff stuck with me, and I protected it with all costs. So it didn't matter what arrest happened. It didn't matter what legal thing occurred. When I'm focused on what my solution is, you can justify things away. So over the course of that time, it led me to this area. I went to No Longer Bound, which is a 12-month regeneration program for men over 18 with a drug and alcohol addiction. And at that point, I tried treatment centers. I tried halfway houses. I tried basically all of it. I'd even tried suicide because I thought I was the problem. I thought I knew what I needed to do. I mean, I grew up in church. Are you kidding me? I've memorized this stuff. You're not going to tell me anything I don't know. And it was such a lonely way to live life, to think that I knew all the information, when the one thing I was missing was love. I was reading a Bob Goff devotional yesterday talking about how love is the greatest influence, not information, and how when we seek God with our whole heart and become in relationship with him, that's what will be the most influential thing in our life. And I think that's what I was missing a lot of. As instead of looking to God or Jesus for hope and love, I was looking to humans. And if you're looking to any human in this world for health or hope or success, you're going to be let down sooner or later. And that's what happened in my life. And so at No Longer Bound, that kind of stuff got exposed. I was able to sit long enough to talk about how I was raised and realized, sure, it was normal, but every level of every family is dysfunctional in some way. And to talk about that is very healthy. To just label it as dysfunctional and say our parents did a horrible job is not healthy.
Yeah.
To have grace on that and to see, especially to have kids of your own, every day now I'm just like, you know what? Maybe they didn't do such a bad job. Maybe they did the best they could, and to realize how difficult it is. And that's just with one kid.
Yeah.
And I think just having a community, a set aside time to just talk about what happened in your life.
Sure.
And what does it look like for you? And so getting to that point, being able to deal with all that and take that to God and kind of say, this is who I think I am, this is who I think you are, God. And then having a response there, having a place to see how unhealthy my views and my approach to life were, and then to realize what I thought I knew was a total lie, and the enemy just kind of was having just a heyday with me.
And this was all through No Longer Bound?
All through that, in that year, through internship, I worked there, so I got to not only learn about that, expose the areas in my life, and try to live it out. And now I was seeing it again through a lens of an intern and being part of God revealing more things to me through newer residents, and then becoming a staff member and being one who taught the things and then had God speak through me to help those guys. It was like 3 different layers of spiritual formation, which was a huge blessing in my life. Just the opportunity to do it. It's crazy to think that 6 arrests and becoming a straight burden and just a mess allowed an opportunity to take time off of life to do that.
Yeah.
Thank God I didn't have a wife and kids when that was going on. There are a ton of people that do, and I just admire the people that are able to take time off with that going on. I know it's got to be super difficult. So I would say maybe 2-3 years into being a staff member there is, well, probably a year in being a staff member, I started CrossFit, and still it's functional fitness on steroids.
On steroids.
Especially when you do a bunch of heavy deadlifts in a workout and say, go fast. That's the only thing that's my kryptonite.
The quick context of that, listeners, is Sawyer's coming off of an injury because he's been absolutely demolishing workouts here at our CrossFit gym, and he tweaked his back just a little bit doing deadlifts.
That's how it always happens. You look to your left, you look to your right, and you say, I want to go as fast as that guy.
I want to beat that guy.
The ego will always trip you up. So anyways, I met Alex when I started CrossFit, and then maybe a year into that, he moved to Georgia. The Spirit led him to Georgia, and friends of friends, somehow he went to this hole-in-the-wall gym that we were at, that all I knew is CrossFit. So I saw my childhood as normal. I saw this gym as a normal CrossFit
Right,
gym.
you have nothing to compare it to.
And Alex was like, this really isn't a normal CrossFit gym. I mean, this is great. There's a community. Everyone who is here is fully engaged with what's going on, and that's what they desire. But I came from this place, and it can be much more. And I was like, yeah, I hear that, but I don't know what that means. And so we became good friends. We hit it off.
You coached my first class. I came in.
I coached his class, and
wasn't there like handstand walks
walks
that day?
It said handstand walk
practice. And
Alex, I think he came in with sandals on. Maybe he had to put his shoes on. Maybe you didn't even put your shoes on. And you're like, all right. He shrugged his shoulders around and
that's a good warm up.
Went on his hands at the front door, walked all the way to the back bay door and back. And we're all just like, we've never seen this before.
Like, who is this crazy person?
So I sent a text to the coaches text thread, and they all got on the gym film, the camera, and they're like, this guy's got to be legit. And he proceeded to...
Little did they know I fooled them.
He proceeded to prove what we all knew. And just an incredible athlete, but an even better human and friend. And
okay, let's pause right there. What a poser bozo way to set a first impression of like handstand walk practice. Yeah, I can do this. Let me just hop on my hands and just show off really quick.
I would have done the same.
How prideful and immature. I mean, can you do it? Yes. Here's the thing. If it wasn't written in the workout and the class was like, oh, hey, let's just warm up for a bench press, and I'm over here handstand walking, that'd be different. I'm trying to justify myself.
I would say,
but still,
be kind to yourself.
I just want people to know that I've come a long way. We all have.
We all have the things that we do.
I would not handstand walk out someone's back door on the first day, knowing what I know now and trying to be truly healthy. Out of any gym, any person, I would be like,
you were in a new place, in a new state, and it was early in the morning.
It was.
I don't judge you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I was impressed.
This is not about me. Anyways, continue. So our paths intersect.
They intersected. Those were special days.
Those were special days.
Partner workouts. Hey, what are you doing?
This was pre-kids.
Alex would write something up.
Yeah.
It was always challenging me. You know, if you know me and Alex, if there's some type of cardio in the workout, I have a chance to catch up.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even have a chance. Sawyer would destroy me.
If there is a heavy barbell, some gymnastics movements, then you know it's Alex's wheelhouse. But he would love to throw in something that I may or may not have, but just encourage me to get better at it day in and day out. We got an opportunity to do a competition together.
That was so fun.
With Harrison Elliott, big old teddy bear, and we had fun. We made the podium. We made third.
Sure did.
Maybe, yeah, third.
Third or second.
And Alex carried us on his back, but it was fun to just be in an environment with so much going on and being in a relationship with the two guys that I was on the team with, and that was fun. But the health journey of all this and like how I began HOLO Health and heard about it and started incorporating it into my life was at Cheeky.
Dude.
We're eating.
This is a monumental moment in the history of HOLO Health.
Me, you, and Beckett. We're eating some tater tots, cheese dip, spinach, quesadillas.
Some appetizers at a restaurant called Cheeky.
And we're talking
about... It was
about...
a rainy, like, Sunday night.
There's got to be more...
There's got to be more.
Than what we're doing, and Beckett was very passionate about it, and he's like, yeah, and we're trying to describe something, and Alex is just listening and smiling at both of us, and he goes, I got to tell you guys something. I haven't told anyone this, really. I don't think anyone. Maybe Hannah. But
No, I told Hannah when I got home that night because it was on my heart for maybe a week. And I was like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And then we started talking about it. I was like, guys, I need to tell you something. And then that night when I got home is when I told Hannah.
So he basically told us about HOLO Health, the dream of it. And at that point, it was becoming the Wholeness Project.
It was originally, I don't know if many people know this, it was the Wholeness Project.
Yeah.
So glad it
if you
never turned into that.
If you had the first book, then it was just papers.
It was literally just papers
off the copier. Yeah.
Off the copier, like clipped together called the Wholeness Project.
I can't name it this because that's already taken. So.
And people thought we were saying the Homeless Project.
That
when we say the Homeless Project, like the Homeless Project, it's like no,
they're getting out their wallets trying to hand you money. No, I don't need your money.
Anyways,
so then, I came up with HOLO Health, and I think that's straight from the Spirit because
it was.
It's different and the meaning behind it and everything. But just from my point of view, I have an experience with HOLO Health, but my experience with being an outsider, watching all of this come together, was and is truly inspiring to see the dedication. And if you know Alex, you know it's in his genes, it's in his blood, it's his personality to just be a go-getter, and he's always thinking about something. But to be one of those friends in that circle, to hear updates and what you were thinking about and how you were writing books and content, and the ability and depth of questions that you ask, and the intentionality and the care for feedback, the craving of feedback, I would say, to not just make something perfect, but to make it into something that people need and want. And then it turned into, no, this is something that God designed that we need. It's not something that I want for people. How can I make this to be glorifying to God and bring it back to just what has already been created? Like, instead of making something new, you have just revealed to me in my life, and hopefully others, that all these things I've been searching for or that I've been unaware of, they all connect. And instead of it being a bunch of compartmentalization, and I get my workout in, and then I go somewhere else and hopefully have one night a week where I meet in a small group to be in relationships, and then maybe I have to go to a counseling session where I can get vulnerable somewhere and have some other type of aspect of my health. That all that can really happen here at the gym if I'm intentional with it and I stay long enough to where the miracle happens or the fruits are produced. Because anything worth having takes time, and I think that's the hardest part about in our culture today is instant gratification, and health is not that at all.
No.
And so it's been really cool to read the books, and then, Health is Freedom I listened to. I don't even know if I read it physically, but I know I listened to it, and it just felt like I was hanging out with you every day, every time I listened to it. So all like the little funny jokes or whatever.
Yeah, side question.
I'd be walking on the sidewalk and I'm laughing. It's like I thought you were next to me. But that book was super powerful, based off of you have a lot of great ideas, but how you connected it to what God and Jesus speaks over our life, and how that is living a truly healthy life is being a good steward of what God has given us. And going back to my life before No Longer Bound, and I don't like to say that No Longer Bound was the thing that saved me. Jesus just used No Longer Bound as a vessel.
That's good.
To reveal himself to me, which took years after going through that place to realize that, because I thought I needed to protect my time there, and I couldn't leave this program, this place where I've developed community and learned how to live and be vulnerable. I was scared to leave because that was the only place I had experienced Jesus. And
Right.
Jesus had to allow me to leave, make dumb decisions, whatever, like get out of that place, grieve it, to then realize, hey, I'm not only available here at this place on this property. Like some people may think it's only at a church or it's only at,
Right.
they have these safe places. And I think God allows things to happen to where those things only last for a season, and then we're forced to experience God in other places and realize, like, hey, he's everywhere. He can be in everyone, and that's essentially what he wants by sending us his Spirit and as the helper. And so with HOLO Health, reading that book, being reminded through the Health is Freedom and the HOLO Challenge, there's so many different 3-day things that you've done, or 2-day things, or 1 day, or
Dude,
the first one was like 10, 12 weeks.
Yeah, it was 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
At the old gym where we met every Sunday night for 2 hours.
But each time, they all resembled, I'm trying to think how to put this into words. It doesn't take much to wake that up in people. Like, as soon as you start talking about purpose and a higher mission, and it being incorporated with God's divine design and what health looks like, and how you can break down the lies that keep us from ever starting,
right,
and simplifying it, and then doing it, and then celebrating each other, that is such a contagious environment. And then when it ends, like everything, how do you keep it going? And I think that's the most challenging part,
right,
is how do you find people in your life to keep that going? And you've done a great job of trying to emulate that through the collective and trying to get something together to where, yeah, it was a good book. Yeah, you can agree with it. Yes, you want to do it, and you're even trying to do it. But who else is doing it? And how are we able to encourage each other? How are we able to talk about the days like today where it's not really feeling it? A lot of areas of health, if I took the true health assessment or whatever, it would be lower than it was the week before. And some of that has to do with you get an injury, and if you're dependent upon a physical activity to produce endorphins to feel better, I would say a huge part of my before No Longer Bound, after No Longer Bound, and even now is health to me was just feeling good. If I felt good, then I was healthy. If I felt an emotion that I would identify as negative, then it felt unhealthy. And so I used drugs and alcohol to try and feel healthy, to feel good. And even today, I can use food to do that. I can use a workout to do that. I can use music, all these things, and not go to God with that. And I'm a very emotional person. I'm a very, any kind of personality test would say that my thought score is very high. I think I complicate things. I can complicate things, but the fact that it's so high on thought is really a God-given thing, and I just have to learn how to steward that well. So for me, knowing that's what I'm susceptible to, basing my health off of a feeling, and that's a very dangerous thing to do. I hear you and Trevor talk about it a lot, because there are more days than not that I don't feel the best, and if I go to food or have to get a workout or something other than God or my wife and someone that I can talk to about it, then it's not a sustainable way to make that better. If anything, I'm entering a new addiction, per se. If that cookie or that workout, I felt great, sweet, I solved it, that was the solution.
Sure.
The next time I'm going to want to do that thing and repeat it. And it's not sustainable, and that's one of the things that you really, I guess, shined a light on for me is truly healthy things, like how do you keep something going? And if something is not enjoyable, then it's not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of my experience with all the different, I would say, nutritional things, different diet plans, can't do this, can't do that. And I'd say the 80-20 thing you talk about and just doing one clean, real whole meal a day is very attainable.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have anything you want to go from there, I can keep talking, but I can go.
I love it. I
can
mean,
go on
I'm absorbing
tangents.
so much from you. Before I interject, what does life look like for Sawyer now?
So now I'm trying to think of now versus today. I would say today, I'm just going to be real because I like being real.
I would hope you would.
Today, you said, how am I doing? I said, not so great, or something like that.
Yeah.
I feel very aware of how maybe just this week, sometimes you don't know till you take a step back and you reflect of how long has this been going on? When did this begin? But just a level of exhaustion. Physically, obviously, my back's kind of tweaked, and my foot, there might be like plantar fasciitis or something. I'm not sure. What's hard for me is rest. Resting and celebrating, which sounds very unhealthy. And I'm learning that whether that's just being okay with being bored, essentially spending time with God is just being okay with wasting time. If I'm in such of in a culture standpoint, if I'm so in tune with productivity and efficiency, sometimes just going away and spending whatever allotted amount of time with God can feel like a waste.
Yeah.
And but it's actually rest. And so it all has a part. But for me, the unhealthy parts of Sawyer today that I'm resonating with is having a very difficult time resting and celebrating things. And while I may accomplish passing an exam for work or running some distance for time or whatever it is, it's like what's next? I don't like celebrate that. And that's something that I'm very curious about in recovery. A lot of times mentors, sponsors will ask how I'm doing. I'll say something for 5-10 minutes, and then they just say, man, you're very critical. Like, remember to treat yourself with gentle curiosity. And I think the same is true in our journey of health. There's a quote on perfectionism when I was driving here, just the dangers of perfectionism and how it is always a magnifier to the problem and it always minimizes progress. And I resonated with that a lot, especially in my health journey, as progress, not perfection, but I love when I think things can be perfected a lot of times, and you can resonate with that as well. And so today I don't feel perfect. I don't feel rested. I don't feel like I can receive other people celebrating me. Like there's something in me and it's a good spot to be in because I'm about to head to the beach for a week, so I have some time to have the opportunity to do it. But I know that we don't drift there. We have to be intentional with that. So, weeks ago when you mentioned being on this podcast and talking about health, I was like, I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot. It was me kind of a thing. The ego was probably running the show. I just felt like I had a lot to offer. And then coming into today, it's like, man, I don't feel like I'm living the HOLO HLTH way. Like I'm living life like God designed it. And what no longer bound and any sustained growth can teach you is how quickly to recognize that rather than think that you're just always going to be on this straight and narrow path. And
right.
So I think that is a more important message sometimes when I'm listening to podcasts. I can be inspired by someone who's doing it all and has the right things to say, but sometimes I just need permission. And I feel like my life, my past, what God is doing in it, I want that. And I believe that is part of my purpose, is wherever I go, I want to give permission to people that the struggle is real, that life is very challenging, health is challenging. But because it's challenging, it doesn't mean that there's not also an opportunity there to do the next right thing, to do one thing towards greater health, towards moving closer to Jesus, towards mending a relationship, towards minimizing a snacking and incorporating something healthy. And for me, that's a big thing, is not just stopping one thing, but replacing it with something. And so being in touch with that, because y'all say it a lot, it's not like, oh, we're going to tell you all these things not to do. I think the tool that you can really, I don't know the word, but to empower, maybe that's it, to empower some with is, hey, I'm not going to tell you what not to do. I'm just going to make you become more aware of the things you can do. Like, what did the serpent do in the garden? The one thing that they couldn't do, he focused on that instead of making them aware of all the things they could eat. And so that's what spiritually the battle for me is. The enemy loves to lie, deceive, and distract. And if he can do that, as long as I'm not thinking about God and thinking about Jesus, then that's the problem. But whatever the problem is actually isn't the problem. And so I would say I'm encouraged by this moment sitting here with you and being able to like say that, because in the past I would just be like, man, I'm great, got 7 hours of sleep, you know, I'm not going to talk about all the snacks I ate this week. I had one clean meal, I got my 8,000 steps in, like, we're good, I feel good, I'm passing exams, I'm on the up and up at work, everything's fine at home, like, we're good. And while some of those may be true, there is a lot underneath the surface of, man, I feel scattered, I feel stressed. But that's an opportunity to take that to God and say, like, what, if any of this is not even in your will? Like, do I need to drop any of this? Because I can become so encouraged and inspired and motivated, like, I'm going to do all these things, and really fail to ask God, like, hey, do you even want me to do this? Kind of a thing. So I can complicate things far more than I need to, and just become involved in a lot of things. And this morning was great to just have margin. And that's one thing that I have experienced is when I get to a place like this that feels unhealthy, the enemy likes to, or my own laziness maybe can be a relationship. It can tell me, oh man, you're going to have to spend a week before you get back to, you're going to have to spend a month. You're going to have to spend an hour with God for you to feel close to him. When in reality, the enemy knows how much time we have. So he's just trying to convince us it's going to take longer than what you have right now. So just put that off. Like, start tomorrow, do it tonight. Yeah. But when I truly experience a time where the posture of my heart is what it needs to be, I'm blown away every time at how God, whatever ground that needs to be covered in our brains and how we try to visualize things, God operates on such a different scale. He's not defined by time. And if I can just say, you know what, I'm deciding right now to put the phone down, to go outside on a walk, whatever the distraction may be, I'm going to choose to run from that distraction, get into a place where I'm not distracted, and just say the name of Jesus and say, I just need some help.
Yeah.
It happens I go from a place of being prideful, scared, exhausted, overwhelmed, to loved, grateful. It just seems like everything, the perspective is just instantly granted. And I'm like, you know what? What am I freaking out about? And I was like, I thought this was going to take 30 minutes. And then you look down and you're like, it's been 3 minutes. And now I feel like I'm not like, God's not looking down at me and being like, what have you done?
Right.
You should know better. All those voices, all the distractions, all the lies, the misconcepts, the deception fade away when I take time to be when I prime my environment to spend time with God.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be hard to do, but I think anyone can find 5 minutes.
Right.
And so to think, well, I don't have 30 minutes to spend time with God to do this quiet time thing people talk about, or to increase my clarity or all that. I think it's a gift to be to a place where it's similar to brokenness, and when we know who we can go to, when no one else seems like they have the care of day, how quickly we can be restored and redeemed just by a correct posture of heart. And so by doing that, I feel like instead of saying, all right, I feel better, now I'm good, now I can act like I'm good again, God says, all right, whatever I've done for you, like share that message, because that's what people need to hear, not Sawyer's good, he's got it going on. I used to always think, as long as you think I'm a good guy, like I'm cool with that. But that's such a dangerous thing to do, because that's so easy to do in the world with Instagram and the fact that we only see people for once a week, maybe.
Right.
You know, the people you work with, maybe they might see a little more, but even then, we have a tolerance to crap that we can just have this persona. And so,
I have one more question because we're running out of time here. Let's say someone's listening that can resonate to how you're feeling today, of just feeling more empty than full. And it goes like this, goes up and down, but might be a little bit lower than higher today. What piece of encouragement would you give them? They want to live a truly healthy life. They're feeling a little bit down and out, feeling a little bit empty this morning. What would you encourage them with?
I'd say me too. That's powerful. 2 words.
Yeah.
You're not alone. I mean, when you say that, I kind of like feel like I'm in the car with someone that might be listening, and they're like, man, that's me. I feel very empathetic towards that. Like I hurt for that person, but that's not where it stops. I feel like that God understands, and he literally just wants you to admit that.
Yeah.
That's it. Like permission to admit it and to know that you're not off track. If anything, that is just part of the journey. It's not that that's what we're trying to avoid. That's just what true health does, is it recognizes that. And to be aware of that is a huge opportunity to bring it to God and then to experience the hope that he provides. The words I might say may or may not help you today, but being reminded of who to go to is always a good first step. And so let God speak into that is what I would say. And then if you have a close friend, or there's someone that you just want them to know you on a better level, just share that with them.
Right.
And you might be surprised.
Open up. I mean, what you just said, I think is one of the main differences between whole health with any other health type thing out there, is that Jesus is at the center of a truly healthy life, that truly healthy people genuinely follow Jesus and go to him as the sole source and originator and giver of health. And when we say health, we're not just saying six-pack and abs. We're saying peace in our hearts. We're saying the hope beyond today, the joy that radiates into every aspect of our lives, that Jesus is the only one that can satisfy us internally. And because of what he's done for us and in us and through the cross, we steward well what he's given us externally and shine the light. But like you said earlier, it comes back to how we see God, where our identity is in, the false beliefs we're believing. It's all of that internal stuff that we also talk about here at HOLO Health as well, because that's vital to a truly healthy life. You cannot go to the gym and be the best one there, but your marriage be on the brink of divorce, you struggle with hopelessness, and you feel like your life has no meaning, and you just believe lies, and like that's not truly healthy. But when we come to Jesus first, and then we start stewarding the other levels, it all makes sense because it's all connected, because it's all God's design. So Sawyer, even though that you're feeling a little bit more empty today, your life, ever since I've known you, has been a light, and it's been so encouraging for me to not only experience that, but to call you a brother and to just see you through the thick and thin, and just to see what God is doing in you and through you. And I'm just really excited to continue trekking this journey of life with you. So I appreciate you, and I love you.
Look forward to it.
Is there any last minute things you want to share with the listeners, or you feel good?
I feel good.
Feel a little bit better. Well, HOLO Health, I appreciate you tuning into this bonus episode with my man Sawyer. I'm just going to go back to my normal way. Sawyer, I love you, brother. And we will see you another episode of the HOLO Health Podcast. See ya.
See ya.